Once again, welcome back to the Xuan character review. This is still the second core character group. And finally, we have Legend, or Lei Wang in China. I actually prefer the name Legend. In this universe, he is a legendary martial artist, so how can you get it better than simply going by this alias? I think about an ancient man who forgot his personal history and dedicated his entire life to martial arts, eventually forgetting even about his actual name, and now it's a mysterious entity that is only known as Legend. You can get any more epic than going by that name. Legend covers the role of the classic ancient karate master in a guise of other fighters like Mr. Karate from Art of Fighting or Akuma and Goken, with the exception he is not actually that old, he is probably 50 max. I've read many comparisons of this character to Buriki Xuan, especially the characters Silver and Mr. Karate aka Old Real Sakazaki, and I must say they are well deserved. This studio didn't go too creative with this character when it comes to the design, but it wasn't even necessary, since it is an epic character archetype old as hell, and one of those everyone particularly enjoys, like Pai Mei from Kill Bill for example. What reminds me this game needs an old Chinese martial arts master by the way. Legend is the rugged, hard-as-nails karate fighter entirely consecrated to the martial arts philosophy and the hermit lifestyle. Then he wears a very unattended karate gi, a rope as a belt, boxing gauntlets, and sandals. He exhibits a very muscular body and a serious and deep attitude, although no exempt of actual fighting enjoyment. In that sense, he is a sort of an hybrid between Akuma and Ryu. He has tanned skin and white hair, again typical of this kind of characters, spiky hair and a curious goatee that is not as unattended as Ryu's bird, to say something. The design is simply okay and somewhat empathetic, but I have to say it, I've always had a single problem with this design and that is those red motifs on his pants. I mean, what's supposed to be that? Did he dye his pants or something? Did they get burned? I don't think it's natural deterioration either, and that simple aspect doesn't make sense to me. Legend is supposed to be a hermit, so he doesn't care about his clothes, then why do his pants have to have red flames painted like it was a kid's toy racing car? Well, as I said, it's the part of it that I have a problem with. But you can dismiss it as a personal opinion. Whatever, I'm gonna focus on his background and personality since that's one of the strongest points of this character. Legend was said to have been a pretty fearsome martial artist in his youth, and he was in charge of a lesser branch of his family, like a supervisor. But one day he went mad, he was apparently possessed by an evil spirit, Satsui no Hadu, and killed a number of younger brothers, with the exception of one, Leijue, aka Rei. So he chose self-exile and went to the mountains to train and try to earn the inner peace. Years later, he was managed to become calm as water, and while his martial arts skills polished to awesome levels, he is said to have grown into a different old man now, one particularly happy and in good terms with his past. He simply moved on. So we have a sort of a redemption story that I particularly like to see as an homage to characters like Ryu from Street Fighter, remember his struggle with the Satsui no Hado, or Ryo from Art of Fighting because by the times of Garou he went to train to the mountains. Just like I said, he is characterized to have grown into a wise and sensitive old man that now actually enjoys fighting and left his blood and power hunger, his seriousness and severity back, unlike other character masters from the like. And you sort of feel happy about him. Also, he carries with him an adopted son named Lao Hu, and you know this kid is basically for the lols.
Round 3, fight!
It's pretty cliche, but I like when they give the characters an ally or an apprentice or a relative, someone that goes around with them. My favorite example has always been Dandy J from Waku Waku 7. So I like Lao Hu and his relationship with Legend that is just like father and son or grandfather and grandson, pretty moving, and that makes him very distinct to other characters we can compare him with. Now, talking about relationships, there it comes the interesting part, as this is probably the character that has a very important relationship with other fighter from the cast, and I'm talking about Rey, of course. While Legend seems to have come to terms with his past, Rey still fears Legend's shadow and has a deep motivation in revenge. He is supposed to enter the tournament because of that. And it's foreseen they are going to clash in the tournament. But also, Legend's backstory states he is somewhat related to Jan's family by marriage or something. If you remember, Legend comes from a martial artist family, so there we have another possible development. I really love how they intertwine the stories of the cast with this character, the way everyone in the tournament seems to share a connection, and this whole universe come to life. And if you ask me, no, it doesn't look forced, as Jan's family has something to do with martial arts too. And I'd really like to know how all this come out in the end, but unfortunately I'm not able to read Chinese, so big sorry. Well, going back to the designs, and about his alternate costume, I like it they took the idea of the backstory, this fearsome mask he used when he was possessed. It's a very Japanese outfit that looks cool, but I don't care that much about him. However, this sun scar marked in his chest and these little ropes around him are very well placed, just like the gauntlets and knee gear. Managed to make a very stylish and harmonious design. As I said, I don't care that much about this design, but I see there are many reasons to like it. And now let's go on his fighting style. I don't think it could have been something different than an homage to the Shoto fighting style, and he got his job well done. He is the first character to have something that is an actual Shoryuken, and I mean the same pose, not energy or some different effect, a plain rising jab. Then we have this Tatsu that is not an actual Tatsu, as it may end with a launcher that juggles the opponent. His projectile is also not the standard Tatsu, it's a gust of wind like the Reppuken, and can be charged and delayed. Next, a pretty weird kick that bounces the opponent in wire, and that badass wind explosion at his feet. A quite original moveset, I say, and at the same time an homage. And his supers, they might not be that original, but they still manage to surprise when the screen goes white, followed by a critical strike accompanied by an ink stroke. Yes, it might be inspired by Street Fighter 4, but the impact is there. And something I really like about this character is that while he is supposed to be a homage for the Shotos, he doesn't even have actual ki powers. It's his raw strength that he uses to release powerful gusts of wind, and his maximum supers are simply very powerful punches and kicks. But they are so strong, so powerful, so spirited, it's like they transport the opponent to a very different dimension, to a higher plane. And yes, that enlightenment. And that's what makes Legend so cool. So this was my review of Legend, a really good character and a pretty original and important one if you take into account everything about his background and personality. Also, Legend is the first character that actually looks like a serious martial artist. So with him we close the second core group, and that brings us to the next installment of the cast. The next phase of the Xuan character reviews. Stay tuned for what will come next, and thanks a ton for watching. See you later.
Winner!
无生无悔。